What's going on, Godzirra Nation? This is Arghgodzirra. It is time to get our tips in for round deuce of the 2021 AFL season. After what was a very mixed round one with some outcomes that I don't think anybody would have seen coming. So without further ado, let's get these tips underway. Before we have a look at how people went last week and the tips that I'm going to lock in for this week, got to draw your attention yet again to the code on screen right now. As you can see, there is a comp code, there is a URL, both of which have been provided in the description of this video down below. All you got to do is click on the URL. It should automatically take you to the landing page for the league and enter you into the league if you haven't been entered already. Now, I want to point out, I've added a little bit of extra stuff on the screen for you to read here. Don't forget, if you want to be eligible to win prizes this season, you need to be subscribed. So hit that red subscribe button down below as well. To all new members that got on board this year so far, I cannot thank you guys enough. We are currently sitting at the biggest competition size we have had over the past 3 or 4 years that I've done this competition for. And I seriously cannot thank you guys enough for all that support. It is truly tremendous.
Oh, fuck yeah, this is the shit!
As I said in the last video, there will be a cutoff. Round 5 will be the final round that you can enter and still be eligible for prizes, provided you are subscribed to the channel. So make sure, if you haven't, do it. It's not hard. Red button down below, just click it. Thank you in advance. But now that we've got that out of the way, let's reflect on last week. 3 teams managed to tip 7 from 9. That was Ryan K, Riley S, and Troy B. Congratulations to the 3 of you guys for leading the pack. We had a fair few people tip 6. I myself only managed to tip 5, and I'm sitting 30th on the ladder right now. There were a couple that tipped 4. There was one that tipped 3, and we have had somebody enter the competition after the round was finished that had tipped 6 as well. 46 is how many people we've got in currently. Let's see if we can break 50 heading into round 2. That'd be tremendous if we could. But as I mentioned, RK Big Boy, R Monster 4, TLB, congratulations once again for sitting on top.
Oh, yeah! Oh! Ah! Yeah!
For this week anyway, because if last week proved anything, this season is going to be one of those years that could be all over the place and coming out with outcomes that nobody expected. And I'm going to tip accordingly this week with a few of my picks. So the first game, Thursday night at the MCG, we have Carlton taking on Collingwood. Carlton put in a very spirited effort against Richmond last week. I feel the lengthier quarters kind of caught up to Carlton and they faded in the final quarter, just running out of legs. Richmond is one of those teams that prides themselves on pace and running, so when it comes down to that kind of dispersion between teams, I think Richmond is going to benefit from longer quarters, whereas some might get pulled back a little bit, but still a very valiant effort by Carlton. Collingwood, I feel, very flattered by the scoreline in the end because the Bulldogs absolutely dominated them from the first bounce to the final bounce. It's hard this week because as much as I want to tip Carlton, Collingwood on paper enter this team with the stronger side, especially with Steele Sidebottom coming back in. Brodie Grundy in the ruck against the youngster, I think, is going to be huge for Collingwood in the middle. Taylor Adams looked good last week. Jordan De Goey was getting plenty of it but wasn't using much of it. I think I'm going to go Collingwood. I am going to go Collingwood here, but that's not to say I don't want Carlton to win. If Carlton got up and won, I'd be happy for Carlton fans to get a win so early in the year. But I think for me, Collingwood are going to get the job done. I hope. I think. Friday night, Geelong versus Brisbane. Now, part of the reason why this video came out later in the week than I would have liked is I wanted to see whether Patrick Dangerfield got suspended for that hit or not. I'm glad he did because I thought he deserved the suspension. He's out for 3 weeks. Sam Menegola could potentially be out injured in this game. No Mitch Duncan still for Geelong as well. And both of these teams here lost games that they should have never lost. Geelong got belted by Adelaide, came home strong, but still Adelaide were vastly more impressive. And then Sydney doing a number on Brisbane. Who would have thought any of that was going down? However, I'm going to take a chance here. No Dangerfield, potentially no Menegola, no Mitch Duncan. I'm going Brisbane Lions here. Even though it's at the Cattery, I feel like Brisbane could come down and could get some damage done. No Jeremy Cameron still in that forward line either, mind you. So, I think Brisbane are going to get it done. I think Geelong are going to start the season off 0-2. Saturday afternoon kicks off at the SCG with Sydney taking on Adelaide. I'm locking in Sydney. Their rookies looked so damn impressive against Brisbane. Errol Goulden, Braden Campbell, Chad Warner, all looked very, very, very top notch. And then you had the players like James Rowbottom and those players that are taking their game to the next level. Jordan Dawson. The biggest point I want to make in this game, and probably the point of difference I feel, especially with how the youngsters went with Adelaide as well, because Adelaide had some very impressive youngsters. Jimmy Rowe looked very good. Tex Walker turning back the clock. Lance Franklin is finally coming back into the Sydney lineup, and I think for the amount of time he's been sitting out, he is going to come out shooting. I'm expecting 5+ from Franklin in what I think is going to be a big win for the Sydney Swans. So locking in Sydney to start their season 2-0, and I wouldn't have said that to you guys at the start of last week. I would not have. Saturday, Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide get it done. They just took their foot off the gas against North Melbourne, which allowed North to come back a little bit, but still they looked very impressive. Essendon, on the other hand, did Essendon things. Got up by almost 50 points, and I thought, here we go, tipping Essendon is going to pay off here, and they just took that lead and threw it out the window, and Hawthorn beat them by a behind. It is such a typical thing of Essendon to happen, and I really feel for the Essendon supporters because they would have been up and about, and then with every goal that Hawthorn came closer with, I would have felt the tension in the room. You would have been able to cut it with a knife. But for me, Port Adelaide 2-0 after this round. Marvel Stadium, St Kilda taking on Melbourne, both teams coming off of a win. I feel St Kilda looked vastly more impressive in the wet than Melbourne did at the MCG against Fremantle. Melbourne do have an upper hand here with Max Gawn taking on another ruckman, back-to-back weeks where the ruckman Gawn has been up against is a rookie ruckman. But I feel the class of St Kilda is going to be too much for Melbourne to bear. Melbourne, however, have the chance to go 2-0 based on their defensive stats alone. Jake Lever and Stephen May last week put one of the best combined efforts from two backmen I have seen in a very long time. Richmond pride themselves on being one of the better, or one of the best, intercept defensive teams in the competition. Melbourne rivaled that last weekend. Stephen May was on fire, and Jake Lever, I think, hit a career best for intercept marks as well. So keep an eye on those two to turn the tide in defence, but I think St Kilda are going to be a class above, and they're going to be too good to be stopped. Saturday rounds out at Metricon Stadium with the Gold Coast taking on North Melbourne. And while North Melbourne were valiant in defeat and they showed a lot to their fans, and I think their fans will be happy with what they saw, I think the Gold Coast are going to get it done here. Not just because they're playing at home, but because of how they challenged West Coast from the first bounce to the final bounce. The scoreboard, I feel, for that game didn't reflect the outcome. I thought they were better than the 4 goals they lost by. They were very good to watch, Gold Coast. At one point, I was hoping that Gold Coast would ruin my tips and start West Coast off with a loss for the year. But they looked very good. Gold Coast fans should be very happy, because I know my brother is. Sunday has 3 games. Hawthorn taking on Richmond to kick things off. I'm hoping to be at this game on Sunday. I'm going to go with Richmond. Didn't play our best brand of football against Carlton, but we still managed to get the job done. This is going to be a bigger test, because this is a team that came from almost 50 points down and turned the tide when their backs were up against the wall. They're still missing players, but the class of O'Meara, the class of Mitchell, the class of Warple, Shields. You add Tom Phillips into the mix as well. And then you have youngsters like Brockman that popped up and kicked a couple of goals. Kajiski didn't hit the scoreboard as in the way that he did during the Amy Community Series, but opportunity is still begging for him. So this is the chance for Hawthorn to really put a stamp on their season, but I feel Richmond is going to be too good to be stopped at the MCG this year, and I'm backing them in to start their season 2-0. Marvel Stadium hosts what I feel could be game of the round, with Bulldogs taking on West Coast. I'm backing the Bulldogs. It was a masterclass what they showed against Collingwood. This is a team that 12 months ago was absolutely belted by Collingwood despite going into the game as heavy favourites. They have one of the best midfields, if not the best midfield on paper, and seeing all of those players combine with one another against Collingwood, Bulldogs fans should happily feel that their premiership window wasn't just slightly open, but they reefed that bastard open. They are a hot chance for finals this year, off of one game. Early call, I know. But I feel with what they showed, if they can maintain that level of football all year, they are a genuine threat to the competition. And I think West Coast are going to come and travel. A little bit of Vic Bias, hashtag Vic Bias is going to come into play, and the Bulldogs are going to win. And then we head to Optus Stadium, speaking of West Coast, where Fremantle are hosting GWS, and I am backing GWS to head over to Optus Stadium and get the job done against Fremantle. I say that because GWS and St Kilda just had an arm wrestle of a game where it was back and forth. Fremantle come off a game against Melbourne where it was heavily weighed in one favour. They missed opportunity in front of goal. They made crucial skill errors around the ground. I don't know whether going back home is going to give them a little bit more comfortability, but they're still going to be without Sonny Walters. They're still without Rory Lobb. I just feel GWS are going to be too strong. That's what I'm trying to say, people. GWS are going to be too strong. So for me, they round out the round with a win. And I'm going to click save. And we're going to do a recap. I have gone this week with Collingwood, Brisbane, Sydney, Port Adelaide, St Kilda. And I've gone too fast again. I really need to slow down. Gold Coast, Richmond, Bulldogs, and GWS. Let me know in the comment section, I forgot to ask last week, your certainty and your upset of the round. Upset of the round for me would be definitely seeing Essendon defeat Port Adelaide in Adelaide. The guarantee of the round, all of these matches this week are really, like apart from Port Adelaide destroying Essendon, I'm going to go with my guarantee of the round this week being, I'm going to go on a limb here and say Sydney defeating Adelaide is my guarantee of the week. Ballsy, because Adelaide could do some damage, but hey, got to make the call sometimes, right? That's it for this round. Thank you for joining me as always. As I mentioned, if you do want to get on board, follow the link in the description down below. Make sure you subscribe to be eligible for prizes, because I'm thinking of mixing it up this year with the prize delegation as well, to include some more people than I usually would. We're going to make this year a good year. Leave a like on the video as well. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. I can't thank you guys enough for all that support. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.